Even Donald Trump couldn't believe it. And honestly, neither will you. The sheer level of personal protection surrounding Vladimir Putin isn't just crazy, it's straight out of a spy thriller. We're talking hundreds of millions spent every single year, turning his security detail into something that looks more like an army than a bodyguard team. Imagine this. Bulletproof briefcases that transform into shields, anti-aircraft missiles guarding private homes, food tasters for every single meal, and a personal army of nearly 50,000 trained operatives on call. Yeah, you heard that right, 50,000. That's not security, that's a fortress on legs. Putin isn't just Russia's longest-serving leader since Stalin. He's the guy who turned personal protection into a full-blown billion-dollar enterprise. And the price tag? Reports say his security empire eats up around $10 billion. To put that in perspective, most world leaders rely on traditional protection, think Secret Service level. But compared to Putin's setup, that looks like mall cops with walkie-talkies. And here's the kicker. On paper, Putin doesn't even look rich. Officially, the guy lists just an apartment, a trailer, and a few cars, pulling in about $140.00 a year. That's what he claims anyway. Yet somehow he bankrolls the kind of security system that makes James Bond villains jealous. How? The mastermind behind it all is the FSO, Federal Protective Service. If you've never heard of them, imagine the world's most secretive, best-equipped, ultra-loyal shadow army. With nearly 50,000 members, the FSO is bigger than the military of some countries. Their budget is insane, their tech is classified, and their loyalty is absolute. But it doesn't stop there. Putin's inner circle is even more elite. At his Novo mansion alone, about 111 guards, nicknamed the Musketeers, are stationed full-time. When he travels, smaller strike teams of around 33 guards stick to him like glue. And these aren't random hires. Each one is hand-picked for physical toughness, mental resilience, and the ability to handle extreme stress without flinching. Their training? Brutal. Candidates spend 5 years at the FSO Academy, mastering foreign languages, spycraft, advanced combat, high-tech communications, and counterintelligence tactics that make Navy SEALs look like rookies. So, while most leaders roll with a few dozen guards and armored limos, Putin is moving through the world inside a $10 billion, 0 cents, sci-fi level bubble of protection. It's part paranoia, part power move, and totally unprecedented. And if even Trump, someone who's no stranger to excess, walks away saying, "Wow, that's a lot," you know it's on another level. Alright, buckle up, because Putin's security detail doesn't just operate like a secret service. It's basically a private Avengers squad. We're talking tactics that most elite special forces around the world would call advanced. Sniper overwatch on rooftops, convoy protection that looks like a rolling fortress, and close-quarters combat teams trained to handle absolutely anything. But here's where it gets wild. The guards themselves are practically engineered to send a message. Average height, 6'2". Average age, 36. Clean-shaven, polished, and picked mostly from provincial backgrounds. None of this is random. It's all carefully curated to scream discipline, loyalty, and raw intimidation. And their arsenal? Straight out of a military wish list. We're not talking about a pistol in a holster and calling it a day. These guys roll with SR-1 Vector 9mm sidearms, SPS handguns that can punch straight through body armor, AK-12 assault rifles fitted with high-tech Zentico sights, MP5 submachine guns, and even the beefy PP-19 Bizon. For long-range threat, Putin's snipers are stacked with heavy hitters like the AMSD Omen .50 cal, Steyr, SSG-8S, and the Ursus T-5000. Basically rifles designed to neutralize threats before the target even hears the shot. And in case the skies aren't safe, they've got shoulder-launched anti-aircraft missiles on standby. Oh, and the newest toy? FPV drone interceptors that can literally jam or hijack enemy drones mid-slide. Yep, this is real life, not Call of Duty. Now, let's talk about the security bubble around Putin when he steps out in public. It's not one layer, it's four. Closest to him are the bodyguards, glued to his side. Beyond that, undercover agents blend into the crowd. Above, rooftops lined with snipers, scopes locked. And surrounding everything, perimeter teams sealing off invisible boundaries. Even his meals are a mission. Every bite is tested, every drink checked. And get this, even fish Putin personally catches gets examined before it ever touches his plate. But here's where things go from intense to downright bizarre. Intelligence sources claim he actually travels with a poop briefcase. Why? To prevent foreign agencies from collecting DNA samples. That's not paranoia, that's some next-level James Bond villain strategy. And of course, his rides are fortresses on wheels. Putin's official limo, the Arus Senat, weighs 7 tons. That's heavier than a tank. It's got run-flat tires, an independent oxygen supply in case of chemical attack, and encrypted comms that keep him connected to Moscow anywhere on the planet. Developing this armored fleet, a cool $192 million, 0 cents. Each car alone costs about $1,500,000, 0 cents. And he doesn't just hop in and go. Routes are scouted months ahead of time. Jammers are deployed to block enemy signals, and coordination with local forces turns his every trip into a full-on military operation. Even his trains are armored, shadowed by fighter jets, and protected by Pantsir S-1 anti-aircraft systems that get moved around like chess pieces on a battlefield. Nothing tops the paranoia baked into his personal residences. Novo Uburyovo, one of his main homes, isn't just a mansion. It's a compound with underground bunkers, storage for wine and supplies, quarters for over 100 guards, and air defense systems ready to light up the sky. His Valdai estate? That's a whole other level. Think radar stations, missile systems, S-300S, S-400S, 12 Pantsir anti-aircraft systems mounted on towers, and even a private spiritual retreat zone built into the grounds. To protect this estate, air defenses have literally been pulled from St. Petersburg, leaving a major city more vulnerable, just to make sure Putin sleeps well at night. And here's the part that blows minds: the money. Just in the first 5 months of 2023, Putin dropped $186 million, 0 cents, on personal security. That's 77% of his annual security budget, gone in less than half a year. To put it in perspective, that's more than Russia spent securing its entire national border with armed troops. And the craziest part? This level of spending doesn't just reflect paranoia. It shows where the Kremlin's real priorities lie: Putin's survival over the safety of ordinary Russians. Russia's 2025 military budget is jaw-dropping. 13.2 trillion rubles, about $167 billion, 0 cents. That's the biggest slice of GDP spent on the military since the Cold War, and a huge chunk of that money funnels into one thing: keeping Vladimir Putin alive. The dude has basically turned the Russian government into his personal security service. And get this, even Donald Trump, a guy who's used to traveling with his own Secret Service bubble, was reportedly shocked when he saw just how massive and high-tech Putin's security empire really is. So here's the big question: why does Putin need a $10 billion 0 cent security network that looks like something out of a dystopian sci-fi movie? The answer lies in the dangerous reality of his world. For Putin, assassination attempts aren't what-ifs, they're documented history. He's already survived at least 5 or 6 confirmed attempts, and if you believe some sources, the real number could be as high as 43. Whether that's propaganda or not, one thing's clear: the guy is constantly under siege. Let's rewind and hit some of the most notorious attempts on his life. Back in 2000, Ukrainian intelligence stopped Chechen extremists plotting a bomb attack outside his hotel during a summit in Yalta. Just 3 years later, Moscow police nabbed a British national accused of planning to blow Putin up. By 2012, things escalated. Ukrainian forces foiled a highly coordinated plot tied to Chechen warlord Toku Umarov right after Putin won the presidential election. Then, in 2017, the threat morphed again. ISIS operatives were arrested in St. Petersburg before carrying out an attack. And the drama hasn't slowed down. Fast forward to May 2023, when Russia claimed Ukraine launched a drone strike on the Kremlin itself. Moscow called it a direct assassination attempt, banned all drones citywide, and threatened retaliation. Ukraine denied it, the US urged caution, but either way, the message was clear. Putin was officially a high-value target in the age of drone warfare. And the hits keep coming. In May 2025, reports out of Kursk said a drone locked onto Putin's helicopter during a regional tour. Air defenses scrambled, supposedly shooting down more than 1,000 drones in just 3 days. Was that real? Propaganda? Doesn't even matter. The fact it's plausible shows how dangerous his environment really is. But it's not just about enemies abroad. Putin's paranoia goes deep. He's terrified of betrayal, poison, even microscopic threats. Remember COVID? He was holding meetings across ridiculously long tables, sending doctors in hazmat suits to hospitals, and enforcing loyalty tests on his own kitchen staff. Personal chefs and servers signed 10-year NDAs before they even touch his food. Every detail of his daily life is wrapped in suspicion. And honestly, history explains why. Russia's rulers have a long, bloody tradition of being taken out violently. Tsar Alexander II was blown up in 1881. Soviet leaders lived under constant threat, and Stalin himself survived multiple assassination attempts. Putin, as the longest-serving Russian leader since Stalin, knows exactly what kind of target he's become. The Ukraine war made things even worse. By mid-2025, over 6,200 Ukrainian drones had been detected inside Russian territory in just 1 month. These aren't just battlefield tools. They're precision weapons that could bypass defenses and strike high-value targets, including Putin himself. That's why his guards now carry handheld FPV drone jammers, X-shaped gadgets designed to hijack enemy drones mid-air. This tech literally didn't exist a decade ago, but now it's standard issue for anyone guarding him. Then there's the legal angle. After the International Criminal Court issued a war crimes arrest warrant, Putin basically became a prisoner inside Russia. International travel, too risky. One trip abroad and he could walk into a trap. This legal isolation has only made him double down on homegrown security, raising both the cost and intensity of his protective bubble. And don't forget the threats from within. The 2023 Wagner mutiny, led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, exposed how fragile loyalty inside Putin's own ranks can be. For a brief moment, armed mercenaries were marching toward Moscow, and Putin's grip looked shaky. A few months later, Prigozhin himself was dead in a plane crash many believe was no accident. If that doesn't prove how lethal Russian power politics are, nothing will. But here's the kicker. Assassination in today's world doesn't look like the past. Forget poison-tipped umbrellas or secret snipers. Modern killers have drones, cyber weapons, and precision-guided bombs that can hit from hundreds of miles away. Even leaders with strong security in stable democracies have been taken down. Shinzo Abe in 2022, Robert Fico's near-fatal shooting in 2024. If it can happen to them, you better believe Putin takes it seriously. That's why his security detail now blends Cold War paranoia with 21st century tech. Terror groups like ISIS want him dead. For symbolism, rival states see him as the ultimate strategic target, and even his allies can't always be trusted. For Putin, survival isn't just about staying in power, it's about staying alive day by day in a world where enemies could be hiding anywhere. From the skies above Moscow to the kitchen in his own palace. Here's where things get even crazier. Every time an assassination attempt makes the headlines, world leaders take notes. And after a string of high-profile incidents, Russia wasn't the only country tightening security. But nobody has gone further than Vladimir Putin. The most dangerous pressure doesn't always come from the shadows. It sometimes comes straight out in the open. In 2022, US Senator Lindsey Graham flat out called for Russians to take Putin out. Think about that. A sitting US senator publicly suggesting assassination to Putin's security team. That isn't just political theater. That's fuel for domestic opposition, or even a green light for lone actors to try and make history. And keeping him alive, it's getting insanely expensive. In just the first 5 months of 2023, Russia blew through $186 million, 0 cents on Putin's personal protection, a 15% increase from the year before. Critics argue that money should be going to defending borders or supporting civilians, but for Putin, the math is simple. If his life is on the line, there's no price too high. The upgrades keep stacking. At the 2024 Victory Day parade, Putin didn't just show up, he showed up armored. He was reportedly wearing a bulletproof vest hidden under his coat, while the entire event had been locked down weeks in advance. 24 guards with ballistic briefcases flanked the streets. Rooftop snipers scanned every angle, and the crowd had been stripped of anything remotely suspicious. This wasn't a parade, it was a war zone disguised as a celebration. And it doesn't stop with him. Family real, or rumored, is now folded into the protective bubble. Reports claim air defense systems have been installed around properties linked to Alina Kabaeva, believed to be Putin's longtime partner, as well as locations tied to his alleged children. The circle of protection doesn't just cover the president anymore. It extends to anyone who might be used against him. This is where you realize Putin didn't build a security empire just because he could. He built it because, in his eyes, the alternative is death. Every guard, every missile battery, every armored car is one more layer between him and the end. And when Donald Trump came face to face with the full scale of Putin's defensive machine during their encounters, even he reportedly walked away stunned. For a man used to gold-plated everything, seeing Putin's fortress-style security was a reality check worth $10 billion. Because at the end of the day, presidential protection isn't just about keeping a leader alive. It tells a story of fear, paranoia, power, and the staggering lengths authoritarian rulers will go to survive in the 21st century. And when you compare the US Secret Service to Putin's fortress on Earth, the differences aren't just striking, they're terrifying. The US Secret Service sounds impressive on paper. With around 8,000 employees, their job is to guard the president, his family, and top political leaders. That's a huge operation by most standards, but when you compare it to Putin's FSO, it suddenly looks small. Putin commands a personal security army of nearly 50,000 operatives, and their primary mission is laser-focused on protecting one man and the circle closest to him. But here's the real jaw-dropper: the money. America's Secret Service budget for 2025 is about $4 billion, 0 cents, and that covers everything: protecting the president, running cybercrime investigations, even chasing counterfeiters. Meanwhile, Putin managed to burn through $186 million, 0 cents, on his own personal protection in just 5 months of 2023. That's nearly 80% of his annual budget, gone before the year was half over. Put another way, in half a year, Putin nearly matched the entire annual budget of the US Secret Service. The contrast doesn't stop there. Trump's famous limousine, nicknamed the Beast, is a $1,500,000, 0 cents armored tank on wheels. Powerful, secure, but still a government-issued standard. Putin's limo, on the other hand, makes the Beast look like a rental car. His Oris Senat fleet cost $192 million, 0 cents to develop, with each vehicle custom-built to absurd specification. We're talking hybrid V8 and V12 engines, blast-proofing beyond military grade, onboard freezers, and even crystal glassware. It's less a car, more a rolling luxury bunk. Now take home security. When Trump was in office, upgrades to Mar-a-Lago cost somewhere between $1.40 and $4 million. 0 cents. A big price tag for sure. But Putin's residences? Whole different league. His Black Sea Palace in Zelensky alone is valued around $1 billion. 0 cents. Complete with air defense systems, underground bunkers, and even private rail lines. That's not a house. It's a fortified military base disguised as a mansion. The difference between the two men's security became crystal clear during their most recent face-to-face, the Alaska Summit on Ukraine, August 15, 2025. Trump's team had locked down the area with their usual thoroughness, but then Putin's crew arrived, and suddenly the whole scene felt like a battlefield operation. His elite guards swept the region with the precision of soldiers preparing for combat. They carried mysterious black briefcases, rumored to contain nuclear launch codes. And, most impressively, they were armed with portable FPV drone interceptors. These handheld devices can jam or literally hijack hostile drones in real time. For Putin's team, that's standard kit. For the US Secret Service, they're still just testing it. Even seasoned intelligence officials said Trump looked genuinely rattled by the comparison. According to counterintelligence experts, some in Washington worried that the sheer scope of Putin's security footprint in Alaska might give his operatives access to sensitive US systems, a nightmare scenario, especially given Trump's track record of being a little too casual with classified info. And then came the travel security showdown, where the gap between the two leaders' protection became almost impossible to ignore. Even at 30,000 feet, the difference is obvious. Trump's Air Force One may be a flying fortress, but it still operates under international aviation laws and FAA regulations. Putin? He doesn't even play in the same league. Instead of planes, he often rides in armored trains, escorted by fighter jets and shielded with Panzer S-1 anti-aircraft systems at every stop. Wherever he travels, an instant mobile military zone forms around him. What shocked Trump's team the most wasn't just the gear, but the mindset. The US Secret Service is trained to handle crowd control, lone shooters, and traditional assassination threats. Putin's FSO starts from the assumption that his enemies are nation-states armed with military-grade weapons. That's why he travels with portable food labs to test every meal, advanced teams that scout months in advance, and air defenses protecting not only himself but also his rumored girlfriend and even his unacknowledged children. For Putin, every public appearance is a battlefield. The financial contrast is staggering. Trump was hammered politically for spending about $2 million, 0 cents on security tied to his own properties. Putin? In 2023 alone, he spent more on his personal protection than Russia did on defending its entire border. In a democracy, that kind of spending would be political suicide. In Putin's Russia, it's just another Tuesday. The gap in training is just as dramatic. US Secret Service agents are some of the best in the world, but Putin's guards spend 5 full years at the FSO Academy. They don't just learn defense, they are trained in espionage, cyber interception, advanced combat, even psychological endurance. They're more like special forces operators than bodyguards, and their gear matches. Anti-material rifles, shoulder-launched missiles, electronic warfare kits, the kind of stuff that in the US would only be issued to military strike teams. Meanwhile, Secret Service agents rely on sidearms and tactical weapons. The scale keeps expanding. In Valdai, Putin has 12 Panzer S-1 air defense systems positioned around his residence. Let that sink in. A leader deploying missile defenses to protect his house. And the craziest part? Those systems were pulled from St. Petersburg, leaving a city of millions less defended, so that Putin could sleep safely. No democratic leader could ever justify that. By 2025, Russia's military budget hit 6.3% of GDP, the highest since the Cold War. And a massive slice of that is spent not on soldiers at the front, but on shielding one man. And that's the ultimate difference. American presidents walk a line between security and accessibility. Putin abandoned that balance years ago. He has traded every appearance of openness for absolute protection. For Trump, seeing this up close during their meetings wasn't just shocking, it was a lesson. A $10 billion, 0 cents lesson. The cost of authoritarian survival isn't measured in policies or politics. It's measured in missile batteries, fortified mansions, and the belief that your personal survival outweighs the needs of your people. And in Putin's world, even $10 billion, 0 cents, may not be enough. Thanks for watching. If you want to dive deeper into the hidden worlds of power, paranoia, and global politics, click one of the videos on your screen now.